Welcome. In front of me I have the Samsung Galaxy Tab A11, and I'll be going over unboxing along with a quick look at the tablet and its specifications, along with just my general opinion about the product itself. Okay, so let's get straight into this. Now, without sugarcoating it, this is going to be basically a cheap offering from Samsung. So this device comes at a price tag of roughly $200 US. Now that would already include a tax, so it's relatively affordable for Samsung standards. It's also a super small device, as you can see. Oh god, those are some hideous bezels, my goodness. So anyway, let's boot it up. And while this is turning on, come on, there we go. Gonna move over to the rest of the package. What do we get in here? We get paperwork, and we get energy sticker along with our Type-C to Type-C cable, and that's everything that we get. Wait, is there no like? Huh? Oh, there it is. Okay, so we do have SIM eject tool. I was already thinking that Samsung is cutting costs even on that now. Okay, so this has booted up. Nice. Come on, flip over. And you can see these absolutely atrocious bezels on left and right, or top and bottom, depending on how you're holding it. And just to kind of give you a comparison, let me just bring up my phone. So this is the S25, just the bog standard one. And these are the bezels on this device. And these are actually a little bit thicker than they are in reality, just because I have a matte screen protector and it has this garbage ass design with a black border around it. So this already has like almost non-existent bezels. This, on the other hand side, is looking like it's straight out of 2010. So great. Now let's start to go over the setup. So add SIM to connect. Okay, so we do have SIM card support in this one. I did see that we do have a tray right here. Let me just grab an actual like good SIM eject tool. Of course, it's not from Samsung. So we do have SIM and SD card support. Nice. Anyway, plopping that back in here. Can continue the setup. So language, English, United Kingdom. Oh god, no! Please, just anything but UK. Espanol, Hispano, whatever. As long as it's not UK or US, I'm Gucci. Anyway, wait, didn't I select English? Oh no, I did select Espanol. Okay, cool. My bad. New Zealand, India. That's like 30% of the population, so might as well. Anyway, he's set up. No one cares. Skip. Can I skip it? Yes, I can. Yes, we're not going to be protecting this device. It's not worth much anyway. We're going to be definitely turning this trash off. So let's start talking about the display right here. That was weird. Button was being cut out by literally nothing. Okay, so the display right here is an 8.7 inches in size. It is a 800 by 1340 pixel display. In terms of resolution, unfortunately, it is a TFT LCD display running only at 90 Hz refresh rate. So it is a bit of a step down from what you might see on actual phones at the same price range. No, actually, it's a massive step down. Like, at the same price, you can get something like the CMF phone, which comes with a AMOLED display and 120 Hz refresh rate and a much faster processor. So I'm not really comparing these two, as one is a phone, the other one is a tablet, but just kind of to give you a perspective of what you can get for about the same price on the phone market, just so you can evaluate if this actually makes much sense, because to me it just seems a bit expensive. But the truth is, in terms of tablets, there is not very many like affordable tablets at this price range that would offer you very good specifications, like for instance aforementioned CMF phone. So let's continue on. Now, apart from the kind of piss poor display right here, we have single camera at the back. So that camera is an 8 megapixel that does 1080p at 30 frames. Well, that's not anything great. And then a selfie right here, we can kind of see right here, is a 5 megapixel. So even a lower resolution. Great. So in terms of cameras right here, we're not really getting much. In terms of the OS running on here, it is obviously Samsung One UI. Now let's check. Oh god, that feels awful. Let's see what One UI it is. Actually, this feels now better. So I don't know why the first pull down was so sluggish. Let's see, where is the general device care? Where the hell is it? Oh, there we go, about tablet. Wow, blind. So software information, and we're looking at Android 15. So we're a little bit behind, and One UI version 7. Now, this device definitely will get One UI 8 and Android 16, as it is newly released, and Samsung does offer at least 2-3 years of software updates, so it will get it. Just the question is when. But right now, it comes out of the box with what we see right here. Chances are, if I connect to network, it actually might tell me that I have an update. I just don't feel like really doing it. So, one benefit of the One UI right here is obviously the multitasking capabilities of it. So you can easily, come on, you literally had it. Where is it? Oh, there we go. I can barely see it. So we can grab applications. Now here we have just one. You can split screen left, right, middle, and apparently not top and bottom. Okay. So it's a pretty handy feature, I would say. I personally use it on my phone quite frequently, and I find this very useful. And you also have it in a bar. There we go. As you can see right here. So you can access it this way if that is something that you prefer, but it gets a little bit wonky if you're planning to use gesture navigation. With gesture navigation, I think this one will be better, which you can obviously edit and add additional applications in here. Anyway, let's move over to the internals of what's powering this device. And what's powering it is a 5100 milliampere battery that can be charged at a measly 15 watts. Now, this is literally just such a piss poor specification for the battery right here that I cannot fathom. And considering Samsung is scared that their device is going to blow up, they're giving us this absolute abhorrent charging speeds, and yet things like the Samsung Rings, which costs a pretty penny, definitely more than this crap does, still manage to somehow blow up or expand, sorry. But yeah, fantastic. I feel so safe having a device like this right next to me, so it can decide that it's gonna spontaneously combust for no reason. Awesome. Now, jokes aside, I am kind of joking about this, but I do want to point it out if some of you are actually concerned and scared that your device might start to, for some reason, have a thermal runaway for no apparent reason, then just because Samsungs seem to be the most prone to that, while still using such an outdated battery tech. And while talking about this, we're still using the crappy batteries right here. That's why we have 5100 milliampere battery. Now, to put that in a perspective, Xiaomi is releasing a phone at 6.3 inches, so much smaller than this. It's a phone. And that device will have 6,500 milliamps while being about half of the size of this. Now, the reason that they can do this is because Xiaomi isn't trying to completely fleece you out of your money. It's because they decide to, yeah, you know what, if you're going to give us money, we're going to give you something that is worth it, and we're going to put in a silicon carbon battery in here instead of the lithium ion, whatever it is here, which allows them to have a much smaller battery that would either have the same capacity or same size cell that has bigger capacity. So basically, it can hold more charge at the same size. That's why you have phones that instead of having like 5,000 milliamp hour battery, they have like 6.5 to 7,000, sometimes even more. So again, Samsung decided, nah, that's not the case. Just like they decided here with a flagship device to also not include that, because that's just extra cost that we would need to, take away from our profits, and that's not good. We're just gonna give them the same shit that we have been doing for half a decade now. Awesome. So no good battery here, no good charging speed here. In terms of the processor, we're looking at a Helio G99 processor with a whopping 4 gigabytes of storage and 64 gigs of 4 gigabytes of RAM and 64 of storage, sorry. And you can get it up to 128 and 8 gigabytes. And if you're buying this, that would be the option that you should probably go with, because God forbid you should ever deal with 4 gigabytes of RAM and 64 storage. This is piss poor excuse of even an option. Like, this shouldn't exist. 4 gigabytes in 2025 with a normal Android and One UI 7 or 8 is going to not be a fun experience. While 128 and 8 gigs will basically make it a bit more manageable. Storage-wise, I don't think anyone should go for the 64. It's asking to have problems and deal with SD cards and all that stuff. And even with SD cards, obviously, it's not always smooth, because most applications want to be installed on the storage of the phone or device rather than SD card. So again, you will probably run out of the 64 pretty freaking quick. So go for the 128. It's really the only option that you can, or you should. And that's about it for the internals. Now, if we take a look at the build quality, we have aluminum body by the looks of it. Let me just double check. Okay, never mind, it's not stated. But yeah, so this is aluminum body, or plastic partially. So top here, that's where the line is. So this portion right here, that's plastic, and also at the bottom, that's plastic, while this, that kind of goes from sides right here, back and here, as it is kind of bent like this, is aluminum by the looks of it, or by the feel of it. We also have power button and volume makers on the right side, assuming you're holding it in a portrait mode. And on the other side, we have our SIM and SD tray. At the top, we have our speakers. At the bottom, we have our speaker, Type-C charging port, headphone jack, surprisingly. Apparently there is enough space for a headphone jack here, and a microphone. And that's about it. Front display doesn't really mention what kind of glass it is. And yeah, so that's basically everything that there is to the specification of the device. Now, if I have to give you some kind of comparisons right here, maybe not have to, but want to. This device costs as much, while it's being released in 2025, as a OnePlus tablet. So more precisely, OnePlus Pad Go that was released 2 years ago. Also has the same specifications in terms of processor, but comes with 8 gigabytes out of the box. Comes with a high resolution, bigger display. So if you're looking for a small display, this will be one of the not very many options. But if you're not hell-bent on a small screen, you can get the OnePlus Pad Go that has 11.3 inches in size and a basically 2K resolution, and same processor, much bigger battery size at 8,000 with 33 watts of charging speed, so more than double of what we have right here. Camera will be supposedly better, though it's still a budget device, and it's a tablet, so I'm not really going to go too much into that. It also has the LCD IPS display. It's actually even better than what we have right here, but not by much. It's not something that you're going to notice. 90 Hz refresh rate, same as this. The only difference is because that device was released 2 years ago, it came with Android 13. This one is Android 15, right? But if it gets like 2 years of support, obviously it should still have Android 15, maybe even 16. Other than above that, I am uncertain if it's going to get additional upgrades, so that's something to keep in mind. Also expandable storage, and you can also get 256 gigs of storage, surprisingly, and also has micro SD card spot. So all in all, for the same price, a device that was released at nearly identical price as this 2 years ago with a bigger display and better screen, begs the question, why the shit does this exist? This, in comparison, seems like an absolute piece of shit. because how the shit are you gonna be releasing tablet 2 years later that's inferior to something that came 2 years ago and basically charge the same amount? Are you high? Put down the crack pipe there, Samsung, because you clearly have taken too much puffs from it. My god. So yeah, this is the only reason why I would ever consider such a device, personally, is, to be fair, for Home Assistant usage as a dashboard that I could mount to the wall, because it is relatively symmetrical, so that's kind of gonna give this nice look. It's LCD or IPS, oh, sorry, not IPS, TFT LCD display right here, so it's not gonna get burn-ins. It's not powerful and it's not that expensive, obviously. And if you consider some actual like home dashboards, they come at about the same price. So this is actually a pretty decent option if you're looking for some kind of Home Assistant dashboard that you can just run all your, visually all the integration from Home Assistants, have buttons and all that stuff. This is a nice display for that. Doesn't get too bright, which in this case I would consider that to be actually a positive, because as something that would be mounted to your wall and basically permanently on, that I think is a good thing, instead of having something that is just like blindingly bright. So in this aspect, I think this device could actually be pretty good, definitely better than a 11.3 inches in size tablet from a OnePlus, which I mentioned before. But if I want to watch Netflix or anything else, do like normal tasks that you do on a tablet, for instance in bed or whatever, like, I don't know, browse internet, check emails, watch YouTube, or binge watch some shows, I probably wouldn't be picking up this. This is small screen, which kind of defeats the purpose of it. It's not the greatest, and there are better options than this, like I mentioned, the OnePlus Pad Go, which would give you a much better experience for this specific content. But if I were to look for a dashboard, this actually probably would be my pick, because it is pretty good size for what I would want to have on a wall for this. So anyway, that's about it. Hopefully you found this video helpful, and if you did, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.